Hey everyone, yes, this is a re-upload from our gaming channel, but since we aren't in town right now because we're currently located in Anaheim, California for VidCon, I thought I could do a video game comic book re-upload to let you guys know that we do video game comic books over there. This is the Portal comic book, and we have the Mortal Kombat ones and the Borderlands ones over there already. Coming soon is Last of Us, Street Fighter, and Mega Man, so make sure you subscribe over there to see the content coming. It's a little scattered as to when we actually release those over there, since our priority is, and always will be, the main Comicstorian channel, but gaming comics do go up over there, and we are trying really hard to get that channel over 100,000 subs, and we could really use your support. Now sit back and enjoy the Portal comic for a taste of the content that we do over there. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites for you to understand, and then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective company. If you guys enjoy more comic book oriented content, let us know in the comments down below. Also, let us know by giving this video a like, and check out our comic book channel, Comicstorian. If you've played the game Portal and Portal 2, then you know of Chell, the hero of the story that seemingly just wakes up one day and tests. But why was it her that woke up? And how did she get into the sleep chamber in number 2? If you're unfamiliar with the lore of Portal, the hero of our story is known as Chell, and GLaDOS, well, GLaDOS is a homicidal robot that killed everyone in the facility, except for Chell, and the Rat Man. He was able to hide from GLaDOS because he was schizophrenic and he foresaw what GLaDOS was going to try and do. He was just that paranoid. So our story doesn't begin with Chell, it begins with Rat Man. He was there alive and well while Chell explored the facility throughout the first game, watching and following her. She was his way out, and she was the only one that could possibly defeat GLaDOS. So of course he was following her with his friend, the Companion Cube. The Companion Cube was in fact his friend. It even spoke to him. It made him consider all of the possibilities. But it was also a liability, and he needed to stay on top of Chell in order to follow her out of the facility. So as he prepares for his journey, he took a detour to get his head right, and he goes to his old locker. Inside are pills that will kind of fix his schizophrenia, but the Companion Cube on his back tells him not to do it. If he takes those, the Companion Cube won't be able to help him, because he won't be able to hear the cube. So as he pops them anyway and begins to run through the facility again using the vents to avoid GLaDOS, he thinks back to how all of this started, to the first days of the lab. Back when he was going by the name of Doug, and he even shaved. Before he was Rat Man. He was normal then, and he was placed on the GLaDOS project as it was one of Aperture's biggest projects of the time. They were there to try and make artificial intelligence, and while the rest of the scientists were excited to be on this frontier, Doug couldn't help but be just a little worried, because every time they tried to turn on GLaDOS, she tried to kill them. So the geniuses in charge of GLaDOS decided to build her a conscience. They all thought it would be a good idea, except for Doug, because as he told them, you can always ignore your conscience. In the final days, GLaDOS convinced the genius scientist to give her neurotoxin, so that she could inject it into boxes filled with cats. It was an experiment that she was trying to perform to discover if the cat was alive until it was confirmed dead. But as she said, she discovered that reality doesn't seem to exist, and all that it did was give Aperture a new cat graveyard. With the neurotoxin, she pumped it into the facility, killing everyone. But somehow, Doug avoided that initial burst of toxin because since he was always paranoid, he kind of felt like something was happening. So he fled into the vents and he found his way to the personnel room until he was able to go through all of the files for potential test subjects. He remembered a particular test subject that he felt was capable of defeating GLaDOS, one named Chell. So he woke her up and he sent her on her path, and then he waited for his opportunity. Well, that opportunity came in the form of Chell breaking through the entire facility, and with his head clear, he was able to run through it after her and not be distracted by his urges to paint messages on the walls or talk to the Companion Cube. After a massive explosion rocks the facility, Rat Man runs to the final chamber to find the ultimate systems crash. Chell did it. She defeated GLaDOS, and she found a way out of the facility now that it was finally off of lockdown. So Rat Man ran for the surface, and he screamed out "freedom" as he exited the facility, and the sunlight burned his eyes. But his adventure wasn't over, because one of the robots from the facility knocked out Chell and dragged her back inside. He could leave right then and there. She doesn't even know that he was around because he was hiding the whole time. It's how he stayed alive, the cube reminds him. But Ratman finally decides that he needs to do something. She got him out, and it's his fault that she's being dragged back inside. He's done running away. The cube tells him, "You really are crazy." And he runs back inside, right back into the maze of turrets and weird robots and things trying to kill him. And he finds that they placed her into the cryo chamber. But the power is off for the cryo chamber, and she's going to die eventually because there's no life support. At that exact moment, he decides that he needs to turn on the cryo chamber so that Chell can live. And he really needs the companion cube to help him. But his medicine is finally kicking in, and he finds himself all alone. No more voices to assist him. He runs around the turrets and through the chambers until he finds the cryo controls all by himself. The controls that will turn on the chamber are past the turret production facility, but without the companion cube to tell him that it's insane, he runs over there hoping that he can get through it. And as he gets right in the path of the turrets, he freezes because he doesn't have the cube to tell him if he should run left or right, and he gets himself shot in the leg. Ratman falls to the ground and he drops the companion cube as he slowly passes out from the pain. And when he finally wakes up, the cube tells him, "Hello." It's back, and that just makes him so happy. How can he function without his buddy, the companion cube? So the cube asks him, "Why did you pick Chell? Was she the smartest, the fastest? Did you know her?" And he just tells the cube, "No, it's none of that. It was a hunch." "You might still be able to save her," the cube informs him. So he drags himself to the computer console nearby, the one that controls the cryo chamber, and he presses the button. He debates what's worse, putting her to sleep in the chamber indefinitely, or perhaps it's death, because he has no way to save her himself, and he has no idea how long she'll be locked up. He asks for forgiveness as he places her into the eternal sleep, and then he drags himself to a similar nearby pod. "Maybe it's time I go to sleep too. I'm just so tired now." And the cube tells him, "You've earned a rest." So he seals himself in the pod, sealing up his own fate. He feels like he's accomplished something, that he mattered. But of course, the cube helped. As we end our tale, I bet you're curious as to why he chose her. What gave him that hunch? Well, Chell's file revealed a rather high level of tenacity. She was just overly stubborn. Thank you guys for joining us today, and if you enjoy gaming comic books along with our top 6s, 7 things you didn't know, complete stories involving the games themselves and stuff like that, let us know by giving this video a like, because we are debating going into more of the video game comic books, as there's a lot of stuff there that nobody knows about. I'm Benny for Eligible Monster, and I will see you guys next time right here.